Today we're going to talk about, and it's being passed around, a client persona, also known as an avatar. And what that is, it's a description of what comprises your ideal customer. Doesn't It doesn't describe every customer, it describes your ideal customer. The premise behind going through this exercise is if you don't know what you're looking for, how are you going to get there, right? If you're in marketing and you want to get your communication out to someone that could be a good fit for you, for your business, you have to have an idea of what that person looks like. If you're in sales, you need to know what that person looks like to see if you're spinning your wheels and dealing with someone that's really just a tire kicker and doesn't fit the mold of what you offer. If you're in product development, or if you have a company that produces a product and you're thinking about, well, maybe we'll add this product or this service to our offering. How do you know there's a market for it? You have to identify what the ideal customer looks like, and that's step one. So, in the spirit of why we come here every week and who we are to one another, one of the tenets of the group is that we are each other's extended sales team. I'm your extended sales team, and you are my extended sales team. So, since you're my sales team, we're going to have a sales meeting. We haven't done that before. And the basis of that is going to be built around this persona. So, if you haven't figured it out, while I'm going to talk about what makes an ideal customer client for Turn One Studio, this series of questioning, you should all go through this exercise yourselves and fill in the blanks for what applies to your business so that you can share it with the rest of us. And then we know what your ideal client is, so we know what to look out for and find new referrals. So we're going to start at the small box, demographics. I'll try to go through this as quickly as possible in the time allotted, but I wanted to start with demographics because for me, this is kind of sort of the least important, and I'll explain why. So when you go through the exercise of building a client persona, you want to be as focused as possible. I can't tell you how many times I've met with clients and I ask them, well, who's your ideal client? Describe to me who your audience is. And their answer is everybody. And they often say everybody because in their mind, if you have money, you're a client. The reality is that's not really true. And even if it was, if you took that mindset of everyone is a client, you're casting too wide a net. It's very difficult for you to be focused in your communications and your sales efforts and your product development efforts if you're not really focused on a particular segment of the group. So the reason why the demographics aren't as important to me for my business is that as we go through this, some of these, well, I'll explain. So in an effort to be as focused as possible, I came up with an age range, but the age range itself is not representative of all the people I could help. It's just on that spectrum of who I could help, where do the clients most concentrate? And for me, historically, I have found them between the ages of 30 and 55. The 30 is really, that's the point at which I found clients start to go down their entrepreneurial journey. Obviously, if I have someone in their 20s or a very inspired 18-year-old that starts a business, of course I could help them. But that's more the exception than the rule. Most people have gone through corporate America to some extent. They've worked for someone as an employee before they became an employer. They developed skills, they honed their craft, they became a professional through that route. And then by age 30, they felt they had the skills, they had the confidence, they had the finances to start a business. That's kind of where the 30 fell in. The 55 is actually even less important because I deal with people much older than that. But again, you want to be as narrow as possible. I can make the argument that people older than 55 might be more financially well off to invest in their business in the way that they need to. But I could also make the argument people that are younger can be my client for a longer amount of time. So I had to come up with a narrow scope. Gender, for what I do, is irrelevant. But if I was a physician, if I was a gynecologist, I'm not going to include male on here. Or if I produce clothing for pregnant women, right, that I'm not going to include males on there. Location, not as important. I have clients throughout the United States, but I've found most of the people that I deal with are in New York and are on Long Island, mostly because I do a lot of networking. But this is a different conversation, but with plans I have for my business for 2025, I'm going to be doing some offerings that are more studio-based that you would come to me for, and therefore focusing on Long Island is something that I need to focus on in my client persona because it just makes the most sense. Income level, that's also another funny one. Obviously what I do is for business. So this isn't about personal income, it's about business income. And the dollars are not as important, but they're representative for my business with headcount. So the 100,000 as a base, again, you have to try to find some parameters. That could be zero. Because as you know, I work with small businesses. Some of those small businesses by description are startups and they're starting at zero. So usually when they reach out to me, while I offer various services, the services I sell them most are websites, because you need to have a website to start a business these days. The $1 million mark, I have clients whose businesses are worth more than $1 million. But typically, if you are sub 1 million, very often sub 5 million, you don't have internal staffing for marketing. If you don't have internal marketing resources, that's perfect for me, because yeah, I could fulfill that need, but it's more important to the client. I can fulfill a client need with them not having to make a full-time hire. They may not have work to justify that full-time salary that they're paying. They're not paying 401k. They're not paying dental, vision, healthcare. They're not doing profit sharing. They don't have to allocate a desk and a phone and a computer to that individual. So I'm a good fit for that, and that's good for their business, and that typically falls in the sub $1 million category. Occupation, obviously, they need to be a small business owner or leader in a business, a decision maker. And education is also not as important. You could be a high school dropout and be an entrepreneur. But again, I'm trying to focus on something. And the significance of including the educational level here is they have to have at least enough smarts and wisdom to understand that marketing is a key part of growing their business. If they don't understand that, that's not a good client. So jumping over to psychographics, these are character traits, if you will. There's other ways to describe it. But for me, when it comes to their values, I want to work with someone that emphasizes the importance of quality and professionalism in their marketing efforts. You know, when I think about what Turn One Studio's value proposition is, what my value proposition is, I've been doing what I do for 25 years. So while time in the marketplace doesn't necessarily equate to being a professional, it should, right? And it should also equate to being very good at your craft and producing high quality work. I'm only interested in producing high quality work. So I want to work with people that value that. They don't want the bottom basement whatever, because they don't really think that aesthetics or wording are all that important in their business. I know that might sound silly, but it certainly is for me. Already 1 minute, okay, wow.
A couple extra minutes.
That's up to you guys.
I'll give you a few minutes.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I need them to value creativity and innovation and strategy. And they need to be people that find the importance in working with people that are trustworthy, because I want to grow these partnerships with them over time. I don't want to be with someone for a one-off and then that's it. You know, when it comes to certain projects, it may wind up being that way for budget reasons. We can only do one thing, but that's one thing now. If I do the right thing by them and they find trust in me and value, we could do stuff in the future, and that's important to me. So I'm looking for that in my client persona. Obviously, from an interest standpoint, they're interested in growing their business. This is not criteria, but it's been my experience that they are often engaged in networking and other things. That's in there, so I know what to look for. If I'm networking with other people that are networking, we're kind of like-minded to a certain degree. Challenges, like I said, they lack an internal marketing department. They need expertise that they don't have internally. They're struggling in their management and balancing what they do with marketing. You know I need to market, but I'm so busy doing this, which is my business. That struggle is something that I could alleviate. So that would make for a good client. And obviously goals are to increase revenue and market presence, build their brand identity, that sort of thing. I'll save the rest on the bottom for you guys to look at later, because I know I'm running long. But like I said, I wanted to share this so you have a better understanding of what makes an ideal client for me. If you have people that you come across that don't fit this to the T, that's okay. That's not the point of this. Hopefully some of these things spark some ideas. And conversely, if you guys take the time to fill out something like this and share it with me and everyone else in the group, we'd all have a better understanding of what makes an ideal client for you, and hopefully drive more business. So, what do we got?